Hi everyone, welcome back to Salesforce Velocity course. So in our previous session, we talked about remote actions. So we have been talking about actions available for integration procedures. All right. So we have already started. We already covered remote action in one of the previous sessions. In this session, we are going to talk about list actions. All right. So we'll go ahead and see what and all options are available under list actions, and then going forward, in other upcoming sessions we are also going to cover all the other actions that are available for integration procedure. All right, so let's just go ahead and get started with list action for now. So I've already created an integration procedure. I have not added anything here right now. It's just I've just created the integration procedure. So I'll go ahead and I'll start with dragging this list action onto the integration procedure. All right. So once you drag and drop a list action in your integration procedure, on the right panel, you'll see multiple options available. All right. So here, if you see, we have merge option, we have sort option, and we also have modify option. Okay. So let's just start with list merge. Okay. So here, there are two main inputs that you're supposed to provide. The first one is that what are the lists that you want to merge. Okay, so if I click on here, then I have to give the list name over here. Either I can provide the list name over here and then hard code the value for the list in the preview JSON file, right? Or I can just edit from here as well. All right, so as I'm not using any dynamic input here, so I have already prepared a list. That is what I'm going to use. Okay, so yeah, so the whole point is that you have to mention all the lists that you want to merge, and here you need to mention the merge field, right? Because if there are two lists, then based on which field you want to actually compare both the list and you want to merge, right? So let's say if there are two lists, so let me just quickly show you. Okay, so for example, this one. Okay, so I have this is the first list that I have. In this list, these are the information that are available. Okay, so the first one is ID, name, and email. Okay, this is one record, this is another record, and this is another record, right? So list one has these three records, and then list two has another four records with different information, right? So let me remove this one for now. Okay, so basically that merge field is nothing but it is asking you that how are you, what will be your matching criteria based on which key and value you want to compare both the list and then do the merging, right? So that is what it asks for. So let's just go ahead and first put the first list over here. So here I'll mention the first list. All right, and then I'm going to add another list here. The other list name, you are supposed to mention the list names over here. Okay, so these are the two lists that I want to merge, and then in the merge fields I'll add the value I want to merge based on ID. Okay, so here I'll just mention the ID, and also let's just also add a response action so that we can see the result, right? Whatever it returns back. And in the response action, I can directly pass this into the JSON output response, or I can also use it as a additional output. Okay, so here, uh, additional output response, let's just add here. So here I'll just name it as something as simple merge. Okay, and what is the value? The value is the response that we are getting from this list action, right? So the output will be here, this. All right, so all I did was I dragged a list action here. In that list action I have mentioned two variable names, right? And these names I have taken from the JSON file, because this is the JSON file which I'm going to provide as an input while I will run that integration procedure. All right, and then so these are the names, list 1 and list 2, and after this I have mentioned merge field, right? Based on which field I want to merge both the list. All right, and then I have included a response action, and in that, for that response action I have copied the name of this list action, and I'm displaying that as an output. Okay, and in the output I have used merge syntax, and this is the variable name that I've given because this is what I want to see in the result in my when while previewing it. Okay, so I'll just go ahead here and let me copy this JSON file, and here, Okay. And if I click on execute, here you can see, right? So let's just go like, one by one. So let's say first one. Okay. So ID is one here in list one. And then if in list two, you have to search for like, where is the ID one, and here is the ID one, right? So ID one, this is the one, right? And the name is Robert. So the name Robert came in, and then the email ID came in from list one, and then the age and city came from here. So basically it did merge. And if you see this, right, simple merge, this is the output that I had mentioned over here, right? And it is showing me the output from the merge of the list action. All right. So this is how a simple merge works. Okay. Now let's just go ahead and check out few other properties that are available. So now let's just do one thing. I'm going to add one extra child node over here. Okay. So let me copy this and paste it here. And here I'm going to give some ideas, let's say 7, and let everything else be like that. Okay. So if you see in list 1, I have ID 1, 2, and 3, right? And in list 2, I have ID 1, 2, 3, but then there is an additional child node that has an ID 7. So basically this one will not have any match in this list, right? So, and let's say like, the result that I get here, I want to kind of like, I don't want to print this out. So let's just first see that how it behaves, right? Without doing any change. So if I click on execute, you see here, right? So these are the three matching results, like the merge matching results, right? So it did get a match for 1, so it merged. It got a match for 3, so it merged. Got a match for 2, so it merged. And in list 2, although there was no match for this one, it still displayed this one, right? And let's say I don't want to display this, right? I only want to display the ones where there is a match. So for that, I will go back to the properties, okay? And let me copy it somewhere, okay? So I'll just copy it maybe here, okay? And I'll go back to properties, and we'll go back to list action. And in list action, there's something called as has primary. Okay. So has primary as in like, if there is no match. And so if I come back here, right? So let's say if there is no match, then has primary is something that I can define here, that which will be my primary list, right? So primary list as in like, if that particular value does not exist in the primary list, then it will not be a part of the merge result. Okay. So if let's say, for example, here, if I mention list 2 as my primary list, right? Then this will get displayed no matter what. But let's say if I mention list 1 as my primary list, then it is only going to consider all the values that are here. And if it finds a match, it will match, otherwise not. It will not display anything else, right? So let's just go ahead and make list 1 as the primary list. So here you just need to click on this. And in the primary key list, you need to mention the list name. And let it save. All right, let's just go ahead and preview this here, right? Now you can see it did not, this particular result did not get included as part of the merge. All right, but if I go back and if I make list 2 as the primary list, then that will again come back, right? Even if I would have not made it primary, it was still coming. But if, let's say, if I wanted to exclude that, then that is one way of doing it, right? So this time it will show up. So it showed up, right? So that is the feature, like, that is this feature has primary. So basically, if there's something that is getting displayed and you don't want it, right? If it is not part of the, like, if it is not matching with anything, then this is what you can do. All right. Now, after that, we have something called as advanced merge. Okay, so for that, let me go ahead and, or maybe this one itself, I can change this, or let me create another list action here. And this one, I'll just deactivate this one. Let's just work on this one. Okay, so here let me first like, include both the list that we have. So we have list 1. Then we have list 2. All right. Now, let's just click on advanced merge and see what are the options that are available here, right? So here, let me just, for example, let's say if I change this to something as, let's say code, okay? And let me remove this for now. Okay, so here if you see, we have in this in list one we have ID, but in list two we have something called as code. But we know that this is like we want to match the ID with the code. So if there is a match for ID and code, then it should merge, otherwise not. So basically the name, the key name is different in both the list, right? So if you want to, if you still want to, like, match based on the same key, then this is what you can use. In under advanced merge, you need to click on add merge map. So first of all, you have to choose the list. So from list one, what is the key name here? It is ID, right? So list one and ID. So list one, and here it has to be ID, and I just have to assign it a group. Okay. And after that, in list two, right, what is the name of the key? It is code, correct? So here in list two, it is nothing but code, and then the group should be same. Okay, it's this. All right, and after this, whatever the result I will get, I'm just going to display this in the response section. We already had it before, but yeah, here. All right, so let's just go ahead and preview this. So let me copy this and paste it here, and let's see what happens here, right? So now if you see the result, we have the code and the ID, it did match, right? So it did find whatever, like, ID is equivalent to code in the list two, and it did, like, merge both the nodes, right? So 1 to 1, right? Sorry. And then 3 to 3, and then for 2 to 2, right? And if you know what, if there are, like, multiple values, like, key values based on which you want to do the matching, then that can be done as well. So for example, let's just go back to the JSON and do some changes here, right? So let's say if let me enter something else as well, right? So let me enter, let's say, um, or let's say, like, record ID. Okay. I'm just giving a, like, random name here, but record ID, let it be 1. And I'm also going to include it here. Okay. And here, let's give it as 3, like, whatever the ID is. And here, let me give it as 2. Okay. So we have ID, record ID, and here we have code. Let's also give one more ID in this list as well. Okay. So here I'm going to give it as, let's say, external ID. Okay. And let's just give it as 1. Here, external ID, let's just give it as 3. Here, let's just give it as 2. All right. So now we have, like, multiple ID values, right? And if I want to match with multiple ID values, so basically I don't want to just define, like, merge based on ID and code, right? I also want to match record ID with external ID, right? Then how can I do that? So I want to match ID with code and record ID with external ID, right? So I have two matching criterias, like, in order to merge both the lists. So how will I do that? So we'll go back here, and if you, let's just go back to the list action. So here we already have defined, like, yeah, here, right? So this is list one, this is list two, and we have already defined that we want to match ID with code, right? So we have already defined the condition to match ID with code. The next condition is to match the record type with external ID, right? So let's just go ahead and do that. So let's just add again here. So from list one, let's just choose list one. What is the name of that particular ID in list one? It's record ID, right? So list one has record ID. So record ID. But for this, you need to assign another group, okay? Because this one, like, ID code belongs to one group and this will be another group. Okay, now the other one is list 2. And what is the value in list 2? It is external ID, right? So external ID and here external ID, and this will be tagged to which group? This group, right? 2, correct? So you want to match ID with code and record ID with external ID. Okay, and then based on that, you want to merge the list. So let's just go ahead and preview. And here I'll copy this JSON, come back here, and then execute. So now you can see, right? Code, record ID, and then external ID, sorry, external ID, record ID, and then code and ID. So based on both the conditions that we have mentioned, it is going to merge in that way. All right. So this is the option. I mean, these are the options that are available for merge. You can do either a simple merge, or you can you can also, we also saw that has primary feature. We can also use advanced merge where we can merge based on a single a key value pair, or even we can merge based on a multi group key value pair, right? The one that we just saw. So yeah, this is all about merge. Now let's just go ahead and see what do we have in sort. Okay, so for sort, I mean, the way it says, right, it's pretty simple. I mean, whatever criteria that you give, right? So let's say if I have this list, and let me go to preview here. So let's say if I have this list, right? And if I see the name, right? It's Robert, this one is Andrew, and this one is Lisa, right? So let's say if I want to sort this result based on ascending order, based on the name, ascending by name, then how will I do that? I can simply use the sort option from the list action, and I will just mention that based on which one, based on which you want to sort it out, right? So let's just go back to the property. Okay, so let's just first see what is the sequence. So it is R, Robert, Andrew, and Lisa, right? But if I sort it, then it will be based. It will start with this one, right? So I mean, depending on what am I choosing, descending or ascending orders. But let's just go ahead and quickly see this. So add new value, and then sort by. Let me just give it as name. Okay, sort by name. And then if you want to sort it in descending order, then you can choose this. Otherwise, it is going to sort in ascending order. So preview, and then let me execute it again. So you can see, right? It got sorted based on the name field, right? So if in alphabetical order, right? I mean, this is the one that will come first, right? And then Lisa, and then Robert, right? So the sort is pretty simple. And you can also sort based on let's say age, code, ID, whatever you want, right? Whatever field you want to use, in your sorting, you can use that here, like sort by. Okay, now let's just talk about modify list. Okay, so in modify list, so we have something called dynamic output fields, right? So let's say if there is basically the result that we are seeing in the preview, right? But let's say if I want to see some some a little bit different kind of a structure, right? I mean, the output is I can decide what kind of dynamic output I want. So let's say if I, for example, let's say if I want to merge name and age, or let's say name and name and email ID, that kind of changes if I want, then that can be done as well. So um for example, let me do a real quick change here. So in this JSON file, let me copy this, and here let's just give it some name. Okay, so let's say dynamic dynamic example, right? And then inside this, inside the double quotes, you need to mention the fields that you want to display together, right? So for example, let me give age, name and age. Okay, so I will just give it as name, comma, age. Okay, and I can combine more fields, right? Just by putting a comma, I can combine more fields. And then whatever node name that you have here, right, it should be matching with the variable that you have here. Okay, so once you have this, the same thing should be mentioned in your JSON file, and under that you can mention as many fields as you want. So now let's just go ahead and preview this. So now you can see, right? The result is age and name, right? So only name and age. It is displaying only name and age from all the results, right? So why is it displaying Lisa in the age? One second. Okay, because here I have mentioned Lisa in the age, right? So that is why. All right. Okay, so this is how you can make use of the dynamic output fields. All right, and then also filter list formula, right? So if you want to kind of perform any kind of formula, or if you want to filter out the results, then you can use this, right? So for example, like the very basic example is, let's say if I only want to print the result where name is Lisa, right? So I'll go back here, and here I can name is equals to, do I need to put it in double quotes? I guess so. One second. Okay, let's try this out. And let me execute this. No, I don't think that we are supposed to give it like this. Or maybe this is not correct. Name is Lisa. Okay, one second. Yeah. Because my node name, starts with a capital N, right? So, yeah. Right. So it was not working because in the formula I had given the name key as small n, right? But here it is actually capital N. So, I mean, these are the smaller things that you should be keeping in mind while doing such kind of things. So, this is formula, and there are other kind of formulas also that you can apply, right? So, for example, let's say if in this result, so let me just let me just remove other stuff and show you something. Or I can show you this here itself. So let's just add one more node here. Okay. And here I'm going to remove the age from here. All right. And let me give it as 9, and let me also give a name. So this is fine. Okay. And let me execute this. And let me also remove this particular name Lisa, so that I can see the whole output, right? So here, if you see, I'm getting 29 Andrew, 56 Lisa, and 21 Robert, right? But I also actually wanted to see this, but there is, let me remove this, okay? Because I want to show you something else as well here. All right. Here, so if you see, right, so it's merging everything, right? It's merging based on ID, record ID, right? And also based on the external ID. So let's just remove all these conditions. It's a lot, right? So that I just want to make sure that it's simple rather than making it. So I'm just going to remove rec ID and external ID. All right. And preview. But it is still going to display everything, right? I mean, otherwise I would have to choose node by node. So that's fine. Okay, so it is merging based on whatever it is finding the match with ID and code, right? So for, we have the value for 3, we have the value for 2, and we have the value for 1. So let's say if I want to put, and then also we are getting this, right, where there is this one, right, where there is no age present, right? So let's say if I want to filter this out, right? So if in the condition, where is it? Here, age is equals to null. Okay. So this one, right? So it will just give me the results where the age is null. So similarly, if I want to put that condition where age is not equals to null, right? So it will just exclude that one, right? Where the age is not present. So you can see, right? Only we are getting only 3 results back, and it is not displaying this one. Correct? Because there is no age available for this particular node, right? So this is like, how you can use your basically conditional formula here, right? Filter list formula. All right. And then also there's also something called as update field value. Okay. So let me first remove this. So in update field value, if you want to, let's say, like, update, for example, let me go back to preview. And let's say if I want to update the name of this particular key, right? So I can do this as well. Okay. So let me show you how we can do. So I'll go here. So first, so for, I can give it as like, let me give it as my name. And then here I'll give, so this is the key that is present in the JSON, right? And I'm giving a new name here. Okay. So let's preview. It should be equals to here. Now, if I go ahead and preview this, so now you can see, right? So this is how you can like, modify the like, values in your list. And also if you want, you can do like, other stuff such as um, my name, hold on, where did it go? My name with age, right? So here, I'll give it as name. Okay. And then age. Okay. So I should see a new node. All right. So here, okay, didn't take the age, should be like this. All right. Right. So you can see the like, the name and the age together, right? So basically, like, this is how you can modify your JSON, right? Modify your list based on your requirement, the way you want to display it, right? And all right, so that's it for the list action. I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.